If they're still on the hook to do QBRs or certain activities, a lot of times companies would say, hey, you need to do this activity this number of times with this so-and-so customers or each one of your customers. I think during COVID, that doesn't make sense. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone, subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the great videos that we produce on customer success.
Why should we be taking hiatus from CS metrics?
I'll give you just a simple example for a low touch type of engagement model with customers where, typically each CSM might have tens of customers or hundreds of customers. If they're still on the hook to do QBRs or certain activities, a lot of times companies would say, hey, you need to do this activity this number of times with this so-and-so customers or each one of your customers. I think during COVID, that doesn't make sense. You actually don't want them to do maybe, those business reviews with customers. Maybe instead you would just send them an email with a recap of the executive summary that you would typically do in a QBR, which is something that one of my colleagues mentioned in a conversation that I had with them. This is what they do. So they don't really hold the CSMs accountable. If their bonus is related or their target goal is to have a QBR with each large customer every quarter, they kind of put it aside and really say, listen, let's not do that. Let's do something different that's more aligned with what our customers want to do right now or what their capacity is like right now. And instead, call them up, ask them how they're doing. Ask them how their family's doing, create those connections. Another company I heard actually took their entire sales team and they launched a campaign where they reached out to all their prospects and say, hey, look, just have a conversation with our sales team. It's not a sales conversation. It's really about what our company can do to help you specifically. Maybe your job is in jeopardy. These contacts, sometimes they do move to another job. They can bring you to their next job. Or if you are staying with your company, what can we do to help you close some deals, to help you introduce into other accounts, or just whatever we need to, right? To just make your life easier right now. And a lot of them actually did connect with their sales team. And this is all it was about. And I heard it from one of their prospects who told me, listen, do you think that when I'm on the market to actually purchase their software, their type of software, I will, fight to get theirs because they're the one who proactively reached out during COVID to help me out regardless. And they didn't talk about selling me a software. They talked about helping me. Which
is wonderful. I love this example that you give because we talk about that in some of the other people who've talked about is how you look at new ways of developing value propositions to your customers rather than the usual way of working, which also means that we need to rethink our metrics. And it ties into one of the next points that you mentioned. It has an implication downstream for the customer success managers. Because one of the things you do talk about is, hey, we should be looking at offering more free services to our customers or things like payment options or maybe even small trainings kind of stuff. And my question is that when you talk about revisit your health metrics, take a hiatus from your CS metrics, offer free, it is downstream, it's the CS people who will be affected by it. But now what you're talking about is actually have a much more of a customer-centric strategy as an organization. And then, of course, if I do that, then let us start talking about helping our CS do the kind of things. Am I right in understanding this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the strategy overall should change. We need to revisit, first of all, segmentize our accounts and really think which cohort of our customers got hit more than others. If we serve multiple industries, we already know which industries have, done better than others. If we have just this one industry, I can tell you full-heartedly that smaller businesses got hit more than the enterprise and larger businesses, which have the cash flow and the cash reserves they need to, stay afloat. So for those reasons, it's definitely an organization-wide strategy that needs to be changed. And this is not on the shoulders of the CSM. In fact, I will have you know that most CEOs have actually taken the time to revisit this, worked with their CCO or VP customer success to re-strategize on segmentation, have a very solid policy about what to do when a customer struggles to pay or really just doesn't have the liquidity to continue to pay for a subscription if the renewal comes up during these next 2 or 3 months. Some companies didn't really realize what would be the full impact of COVID on their business, and they won't know until the end of the quarter when all the renewals for this quarter are due. We don't know. And so these requests for cash flow relief might still come in Q2, and we should embrace for that. I think most of them have already happened. In terms of the free services and such, yes, most of these comments have actually related to specifically what can we do when we do get asks for cash relief. And even if we get a request to churn, what can we do to like really understand what is the reason for the churn request, the cancellation request, and what can we offer to extend just to see, whether we can still save that account. In terms of free services, I think there was another point in the infographic that really talked about, look, we need to be customer centric right now. There's a lot of people, a lot of teams that might have their job in jeopardy, that might need to switch over to work remote. And now they're switching over back to working in the office, and there might be some health concerns and issues. Some of the customers that I work with have actually set up Slack channels for all the executives that are from their customer base to just talk to one another about these strategies. And they are holding these online sessions to have people connect with one another and feel like a sense of community, because they can't go to work and talk to one another. And even if they did, there's just a slew of new things that we never had to deal with before.